In this section I am going to teach about applications of syntax testing. Okay, first we have to know about the syntax testing. Syntax testing means what? Whether we are verifying the data, it is verified the data, or it neither be or input or output. Okay, it neither be input or output. So in this syntax testing also we have described about the two collections. Okay, in these two collections we will verify about the first testing, we will verify about the formal techniques, whether the formal techniques are nothing but very valid data. Okay, coming to the second collection, in second collection we will test the test cases like invalid data or garbage collection, means unwanted data will be also tested. Okay, which is tested by verified data or invalid data also it will be tested. In this in syntax testing, we will know about what are the undefined collections of commands are executed, or what are the in commands or in languages also. We will we will define about the some types of bugs we will define in syntax testing. Fine. So see, in the syntax testing, it is also called as a black box testing. What is a black box testing? Okay, syntax testing is also called as a black box testing. Means black box testing will not represent the internal structure, but it given by the input and output. But in this syntax, okay, in this black box we will define the inputs and outputs both. But in this syntax we only define as a input, it will be gathered as the input prevented data. What are the inputs, what we are giving, we will get what are the verified data of inputs only we will get. Okay, so in syntax testing we will involve the inputs. Okay, we will involve the inputs what are processing internally, externally. Okay, we have to verify the internal and external forms of inputs. Okay, what we are giving the inputs means maybe a parameters, what are the data we are preventing, or what are we are giving into the program. Okay, so next one, we have to notice that syntax testing always be automation testing. Why? Means automation tools are used more in syntax testing. So to prevent the bugs, okay, it is easy way okay, to verify in automation testing. Okay, there are the three important techniques which are used in syntax. First, whether the input formats are given or not by the user. Okay, we have to verify whether it is input given or not by the user. We have to verify it. Next one, what are the file formats? It may be file formats are different ways. Okay, when we give the file formats, we will save in a different words, right? So we have to give the formats. And next one, schema means what are the storing of data. When we have a files like input, it will be saved as a file format, then it will be stored in particular schemas to execute the program, right? Next one, we will define what are the steps. Means how we are defining the bugs, or how we are identifying the bugs, means we have to define by the three steps. First, we have to identify from the raw data, or we have to identify by the target language. Okay, whether the processing of data is target language, in target language only we have to identify the particular bug. Next, we have to define it, whether we have to test the bug or not, we have to define the syntax of the testing. Next, at last, we have to verify the testing. How we are verifying means we have to verify by the collection of the data, it is specified by the requirements or not. If it have a best requirement, it does not exist. If it is have a best requirements not, means it must be a invalid data. So invalid data must be debugged. Debugging is nothing but the modification or changing the format of the message. Okay, in this syntax we have to assign the format of the message. Okay, we have to format of the information is defined, whether it is valid or invalid. Next one, what are the limitations, okay, in syntax testing? First we have to assign that what are the normal forms. Okay, normal forms or normal arithmetics what are taking. Okay, normal forms are nothing but the valid data. Okay, next we have to see whether the testing of the tools or automation or not. Automation is nothing but the best main goal to reach the bug. Okay, so that automation is automatically identified whether the stored data of a bug is verified or not, it is validate or not. We have to check each and every process. These are the limitations of these are the two limitations which are occur in syntax testing. First, it is used for the normal forms, whether the normal form is nothing but a valid data. Next one, syntax testing, it is a automation testing or not, whether it is using automation. Automation means by verifying the requirements whether it is predefined data or a valid data or not. So in this syntax testing also, we have to characterize the message as a grammar. Okay, the message what we are passing, it is recognized as a grammar, or it may be a parsing or any techniques we can use in syntax testing. Coming to the, it may be a compiler side or it may be a lexical side. Okay, we can use anything grammars to pass the message. Okay, second one means it is generated by the rules which is occur, means each and every test cases is which will be generated by the test cases of the format of a grammar, which is nothing but a format of the message. Next one, whether the examining the good format, means good format of an example is nothing but the validation, which is the random testing. But random testing is continuously not used in syntax testing. Okay. So we will know about what are the applications of syntax testing. First one, command driven software. First one, command driven software. In command, we have to verify the commands are verified or not. How we are verifying means whether the applications or the probabilities given by the data. What are the applications means what we are passing the documentation. Some applications will means step by step process we will define by the commands. Okay. Next one, probability. Probability is mathematical equations, right? Mathematical equation which whether it is valid or not. So in this in this application also, see in this application, in this probability also we have to verify the commands are executing whether it is executing or not. Okay. Next one, menu driven software. In menu driven software we have to identify the what are the alternative commands, but these menu driven is alternative to the command driven also. But what are the alternative means we have to verify whether the selected forms are presented in the menu. Okay, we have to select the forms. How we are selecting means we have to see the actions which are repeating. Okay, what are the actions are repeating, based on this action also, based on this action we have to select the particular form. Okay, what is nothing means we have to select the menu. At last we have to identify the syntax testing whether it is easily occurred or not, means it is a tree shadow form. Okay, it is a menu driven, always be a tree shadow, means why means it is connected to one another. Whether we have in menu driven also we have a implementation of testing, it is whether it is saved or not saved. We have to identify each and everything by the menu driven, which is prevented by the actions are taken by the testing. Okay. Next one, macro languages. Coming to the next one, macro languages. In macro languages, we will describe about the scripting languages. In scripting what is the scripting languages is nothing but the commercial languages what we are using. It is a large programming languages we are using. So these commercial languages is used by the formal techniques only, formal requirements only. But in the scripting languages, we define the programming languages have the packages. Packages are nothing but used by the users. Okay, these packages are used by the users to implement the programming and to implement the specified data. Which are the specified data is nothing but it is followed by the BNF. It must be followed. Okay, see, it is followed by the BNF. It is specified and it must be specified by the programming language followed by the BNF. At last, it must be implement or it must be defined. Must be clear the data. Okay, it must be defined or implement the data, so other packages must not be repeated. So in these macro languages, the scripting languages are nothing but it must be not repeated. Okay, whether because the programming language is the main code of this particular menu of a commands of the implementation, right? Next one, communication. In communication, we will take a small example like a telephonic numbers. Okay, in telephonic numbers we will pass each other, right? So we will pass the formal syntax testing. We will text the format of a message from another person, right? So it is nothing but a communication. In this communication also we will use the embedded languages. Embedded languages are nothing but the repetition languages or connected languages which connected by one another. Okay, this communication is nothing but is also a command languages of a scripting which is connected to each other. Communication is nothing but connected to each other. Next application is nothing but a database query language. In database query language also we will assign about the commands. Okay, we will also assign about the commands only. Commands are nothing but the strings or a printf, scanf, case statements what we are passing into the program. Okay, these all coming from the commands only. So in this command query language also we have to search the particular data and we have to retrieve it. Means how we are searching, means we are searching the particular key format whether it is implemented or not. We have to retrieve the information. We have to retrieve means we have to gather the information after it is verified. So this query language also connected with the command languages which is nothing but a predefined data whether the parameters are supplied, whether the parameters are existed by the user needs. Okay, but the parameters are existed by user needs. At last one we will define about the compilers and the generated parsers. First we will know about the compilers. In compilers we have to execute the data which is not repeated, means invalid data or repeated data must not be implemented in compilers. So in compilers we have to execute a predefined data or which is existing one. Okay, next one we go to the parsing techniques. Parsing techniques always be a formal techniques. Okay, what are the formal techniques which is followed by the BNF generators? Okay, BNF generator, in next section we will discuss about BNF generators. Fine. So last one, in these generators and these compilers will be combined. Okay, will be combined with the last lexical analysis. See, in this lexical analysis, we will specify the data. So see, we will specify the data which is not repeated. So not more than much it will. Okay, not repeated or not more than chances to change. In this parsing techniques we have to not observe any breakdown statements. Okay, so the compilers or generators are connected to each other which is to validate the data. So to test these compilers we have to see whether it is repeated or not repeated. Fine. This is the concepts. What are the concepts which are involved in the applications of syntax testing? First we will revise. First one, command driven software. Command driven software is nothing but it is used for the syntax to organize, okay, whether it is applications or the probability what are we are taking. Okay, next one, menu driven software. In menu driven software also we will define about the particular data, okay, which is connected to it. Means it actions, based on actions also we have to define the field of data. Okay, coming to the next one, what are the macro languages? Macro languages are nothing but the scripting languages. In scripting languages, we will define about the large number of programming languages which are commercial languages also. So in this commercial language, we operate many operations. Many operations, whether the operations are repeated or not, we have to see. Coming to the communication, in communication we have to see the connected bond of one another, whether the message is passing from one another or not. So we will take a small example of telephonic line. Okay, next one, a database query language. Database query language also connected with the command based only, but in command driven or software we will defining the applications, what are the probabilities, but mathematical formations. But in query language we will specify the commands which are be recognized, which are recognized by the Boolean equations. Boolean equations means and, or, not, gets, which will be present in the query language. Okay, that mathematical equations, here Boolean equations we are using. Okay, coming to the last one, compilers and generated parsers. In compilers generators, compilers will see the repeated data or not, but in generated parsing we have to follow the BNF format only, whether it is a formal data of a predefined techniques are used or not. At last we have to define the lexical analysis. These two compilers and generators are connected to each other, whether the dirty bits are repeated or not. So in this lexical analysis we will specify the formal specifications and the techniques what are using to define the syntax testing. Fine. So in this testing, at last we will define about the syntax testing is nothing but identification of the problem, defining the problem and validate the problem. These are the steps which are defining to identify the particular bug. So syntax testing is nothing but validating or examining the data. Okay, it may be an input or it may be an output, but it is coming from the black box testing. So black box testing does not implement the internal structure, right? It does not have a structure, but it defines the input. But in syntax testing only we are defining the inputs only to access the formats of input of a database and particular files to access the data, whether it is stored or it is accessed or it is saved by the inputs format or not. Okay, input format is nothing but valid data which is presenting in the syntax testing. Thank you.